I'm going to read about Jesuit Loree McBride's Brent imposter that takes over Brent Spiner's body for sex. At the Quebec trial, Loree McBride has described in explicit detail how Brent Spiner has invaded her mouth, her anus, and her vagina with his penis, and that she and Brent have had extensive and very torrid sex together, and that Brent loves this type of sex. And this has been going on for years and years. I have accused her of lying that she has a sexual relationship with Brent Spiner, and that she also lies about being married to Brent Spiner, and that the Jesuits have used her to try and destroy Brent's love for me when Brent fell in love with me in 1990 and 1991. I have to admit the way she describes in explicit detail her sex with Brent at this trial has caused me to suspect that she somehow raped Brent again and again after September 1992 to obtain more sex from him after 1992. The truth is that she has had extensive sex with Brent Spiner's body after she obtained her entrance as his sexual partner in September 1992 through a drug rape. I'll lower this one. However, she has not had sex with the real Brent Spiner while his real personality ruled in his body after her September 1992 rape of Brent. I will explain more about this later. First, let me read from the Jesuits' own website about their kitten programming, which has been employed on Brent Spiner. The Monarch Mind Control designation was originally applied by the U.S. Department of Defense to a sub-program under the CIA's MK-Ultra program in conjunction with the Jesuits. However, the techniques employed in the Monarch programming system extend back further under various names, such as the Nazi marionette programming. Even further back, the techniques used in Monarch programming can be traced to various generational Satanist families among European royalty. The MPD state, created by the Monarch programming techniques, were used to isolate the personality. Too loud. Were used to isolate the personality involved in satanic rituals from a public face. Without this alternate personality, the nobles practicing Satanism inevitably went insane, so its practice spread rapidly through the occult community. It is unclear who first started practicing the MPD techniques as a way of creating mind control slaves rather than as a defense mechanism, but it is clear that the Nazis were using electroshock and binding to create slaves in the 1940s. After World War II, some German and Italian psychologists who were working on marionette programming were brought to the United States to continue working on their research. After the original development of the Monarch program inside of MK-Ultra, it has been adopted by other groups such as the Illuminati, Jesuits, and the American entertainment industry. Very notably, since the 1970s, the Disney Corporation has been involved heavily in Monarch programming, and several of their films, especially Alice in Wonderland, are used as a base for Monarch programming. Over 1 million Americans have had Monarch programming applied to them successfully. Monarch programming is applied when a drone is needed to carry out commands which are of a morally questionable nature. Monarch victims are used for assassinations and murders, which must be carried out for political purposes. It is used heavily within the entertainment industry to create easily manipulated music stars. One variation of the process, known as kitten or sex kitten programming, this is what they've been using on Brent Spiner, is used to create willing sexual slaves. Many clones are programmed successfully in this way. Loree McBride, the best cock blocker we have ever created, has successfully implemented mind control against Brent Spiner and hindered Gail Chord Schuler's plans for ridding the world of us. Using the Monarch model of sex kitten, She is able to make him submit to our will, even though he has no desire to. Loree McBride was inserted into Brent's life in the fall of 1992 to thwart the emotional, psychic, and physical bond to Gail Chord. Many attempts were made at natural insertions of affections, but failed. Loree McBride was instructed to force an offspring through whatever means necessary. Affections via the creation of offspring were successful, and Gail Chord and Brent Spiner were separated for many years other than brain-to-brain communications. It also created distrust between the two, giving us time to build our underwater city and plan for the nuclear holocaust. God bless Loree McBride. Even though Loree McBride was successful at stealing away Brent's affections for Gail, he never gave himself over completely to the idea of a life without her. We threatened him many times and made sure he ended up with a pitiful career so he could not spread anti-Jesuit influence across the globe through his platform as a cult hit actor from Star Trek: The Next Generation. Hold on a minute. The Jesuits try to, now here's my comments. The Jesuits try to appear omnipotent, and I don't believe they are correct when they say they were successful at stealing away Brent's affections for me. However, they were successful in using Brent's body over and over from 1992 to now to have all sorts of sex with Loree via anal, mouth, and vaginal entrances. Brent fell passionately in love with me in 1990 and 1991. The Jesuits found this a threat and created Loree McBride to destroy his love for me. So she drugged and raped him in September 1992 to obtain an entrance. Once this was accomplished, she used legal means and the Monarch programming to force Brent into a public relationship with her. The Jesuits rewrote Brent's genetic profile to make him susceptible to their Monarch programming, using Loree as the sex kitten. It works like this. She is able to subdue his real personality and override it with an imposed personality that takes over his body. In other words, when Loree has had her sex with Brent after 1992, she's actually having sex with someone else who is not Brent, but who has temporarily, for the purposes of sex with Loree, taken over Brent's body. She has had extensive sexual intercourse of all different versions with this other personality that borrows Brent's body. So Loree actually has not had sex with Brent, but with another person, a Brent imposter, who is borrowing Brent's body to have sex with Loree. Once her sexual session with the Brent imposter in Brent's body is finished, the real Brent Spiner's personality comes back into consciousness in his body, and the real Brent Spiner has no idea that his body was just used to have extensive and torrid sex with Loree. The Jesuits know Brent hates Loree McBride, and that he does not want sex with her. So this is the only way they are able to obtain sex from him with Loree. They have totally erased all memories of his body's sexual experiences with Loree through this Jesuit personality, and that explains why Brent has never told Gail about his sex with Loree, because he honestly does not believe he's had it with her. As far as the valid marriage license to Brent Spiner that Loree produced at the trial, Gail believes Loree may have obtained this from the Brent imposter while he controlled Brent's body and manipulated Brent's body to do things that the real Brent Spiner would never do, perhaps to sign and create a marriage license. Brent has never considered himself married to Loree McBride and was quite shocked that Loree managed to produce a valid marriage license at the trial. But as Loree went on and on about her torrid and vivid sexual experiences with him, it juggled something in his subconscious mind, and he began to suspect that she somehow obtained sex with him by hypnotizing him against his will or something along that line. Actually, with the Jesuit Monarch sex kitten program on Brent, they can turn off his real personality when Loree gets near him and cause the other personality to take over, and it is this other personality using Brent's body that has been having sex with Loree. Then when she's had her sex with this other personality in Brent's body, Jesuits turn off the other personality and allow the real Brent Spiner to return to his body. Jesuits have induced a form of multiple personality disorder in Brent. You may say, you're just making all this up. No, I'm not. Jesuits are very clever and brilliant. They can create a clone baby and grow it into an adult within about 2 years and all sorts of other amazing things. So don't put this past their scientific prowess. Jesuits have hidden this from Brent Spiner until this trial, that his body has been used by this other personality to have extensive sex with Loree, because they knew he would die for me and would go to drastic measures to fix himself so that the Jesuits couldn't manipulate his body this way, which is what he's trying to do right now, by the way. Jesuits know he hates Loree McBride and has never desired her in bed because he feels it would betray me, the woman he truly adores. So they have only been able to obtain this sex from Loree by literally taking over his body with this other personality that has been used to have sex via Brent's body. Actually, Loree has not had sex with the real Brent Spiner. She has had sex with a Brent imposter who has taken control of Brent's body against the real Brent Spiner's will and knowledge to have sex with Loree. For this reason, the real Brent Spiner remains on my marriage list, even though he signed a prenuptial agreement that says he should be kicked off if he's had sex with any other woman besides me. As far as I'm concerned, he's been faithful to me. It's his body, controlled by a Jesuit personality, that has not been faithful to me. And because I don't see this Jesuit personality that has borrowed Brent's body to have sex with Loree as the real Brent Spiner, I consider that the real Brent Spiner, who has never gone to bed with Loree except possibly through a drug rape in September 1992, has been faithful to me. We are trying very hard to remove the Jesuits' ability to manipulate Brent like this against his will and knowledge. Loree McBride has not had sex with Brent Spiner. She has had sex with a Jesuit personality who has taken control of Brent's body against his will and knowledge. Unfortunately, this has gone on for years, and Brent was not aware that his body was used so extensively by this other personality to have sex with Loree. Because Loree knows that Brent does not desire sex with her, she has kept secret from Brent that she has continued her rape of his body after September 1992. But when I brought her to court, it first forced her to reveal her treachery, and so now we know that her rape of Brent's body has extended past September 1992.